Hello, and welcome to the Tavern Chat podcast. I'm your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, and this is a bonus episode of Tavern Chat. Why are we doing a bonus episode of Tavern Chat? Well, one of the loyal tavern listeners / readers sent me an email, and it was interesting, and I did a little investigating, and they are right. So, on the legacy products, when I say legacy, I know it's definitely applying to first edition and basic expert. I'm assuming at least 2E, probably 3. Haven't dug that full. There is now a disclaimer at the end of the item descriptions, which I find to be very interesting. Now, if you recall, last week we had somebody who claimed that Oriental Adventures was racist and should be pulled from the market. We're talking about the original AD&D 1E version. So, this is now the disclaimer. We recognize that some of the legacy content available on this website does not reflect the values of the Dungeons and Dragons franchise today. I thought it was always Dungeons and Dragons. But alright, of the Dungeons and Dragons franchise today, some older content may reflect ethnic, racial, and gender prejudice that were commonplace in American society at that time. These depictions were wrong then and are wrong today. This content is presented as it was originally created, because to do otherwise would be the same as claiming these prejudices never existed. Dungeons and Dragons. Alright, so there's a typo in this fucking thing. It was done quickly and just, get it out. Dungeons and Dragons teaches that diversity is a strength, and we strive to make our D&D products as welcoming and inclusive as possible. This part of our work will never end. So, I predicted that there was a chance they were going to go back, and if they couldn't edit old products, because that would be time consuming, and if it's time consuming, it's money consuming. And if there's anything that we've learned about Wizards of the Coast and their, quote, legacy products, the out-of-print editions, is that they're there to make a buck. And if you got to edit this stuff down, you're not making a buck. But if you remove it from the marketplace, you're not making a buck either, right? This way, they continue to make a buck and have a disclaimer saying, we realize that this may not fit our moral standards today. Now, of course, and it was wrong for people of the 70s and 80s to think this way. Well, again, moral standards change. Okay? They do. To think otherwise is arrogant. Okay? The moral standards that applied in the 70s and 80s, what was socially acceptable, is not what applies today. Right? Things like gay marriage are only within the last 10 years or so being legalized in all 50 states. Now, you could say it was wrong for it to not be legal before, but to judge society that it wasn't for the first 225 years of this country, again, it was different. It was a different world. This is what progress is, and to again, I think we've had this discussion past couple of days about different stuff. To judge prior society against moral standards of today's society is a wrong way to look at history. All right. It's just like we can't. Here, I'm gonna step my foot into politics in real life for a second. The United States is built on Judeo-Christian traditions. Whether we have separation of church and state or not, that is the traditions this country is built upon. Yet, we don't judge other religions by our Judeo-Christian standards, right? We don't even judge other religions against our current moral standards as a society, because we say, well, their experience is different, their world is different, so the world 40 years ago was different. And again, I have an issue with us judging them by that. But at least they're not pulling shit off the market, right? Of course not. It's all about the Benjamins. They couldn't take stuff off the market. And let's be honest, something offends somebody somewhere. Or to put it another way, everything offends somebody at some time, somewhere, and one of those somebodies is going to be loud enough to rattle the cage, make some noise, and this means that they've already addressed it, right? We've already addressed it. So when the next issue comes up, why, I don't know, the GDQ series unfairly shows Drow as being evil, and it doesn't meet our current sensibilities, they can say, well, listen, here's our disclaimer. I always thought the most interesting thing about Drow wasn't the fact that they were evil, is that they were a matriarchal society. I thought that was empowering. Even back in the 80s, probably when I was running the G series and the D series, I was like, wow, male Drow are the ones that are held back. Women rule this society. Women are the power players. Men, the roles were reversed, right? Compared to, I don't know, 1800s, early 1900s, right? I thought that was a good way to handle it. But they didn't whack you over the head doing so. Today they're gonna whack you over the head. All right, folks. So sorry for hitting you with 2 episodes today. I'm gonna bow out without my normal coronavirus shit. But be safe, be well, God bless, roll those dice. And I will talk with you tomorrow. We will be with Bad Mike and Old Man Gloragnard, otherwise known as Glenn Hallstrom, and I'm sure this will be one of our topics. So, I will see you all, talk with you all tomorrow. Later, folks.